Your brain is divided into two halves. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. At the forefront of each one of those factories is a forming positive and you got forming negative. You're the boss of the factory. You wake up in the morning and you say, man, I don't feel myself today. Forming negative hears that. He said, hey, the boss just woke up and said he's having a bad day today. Let's get to work. And your day starts tumbling into what you ordered. You could wake up in the morning and you say, you know what? Today is going to be a great day today. Man, thank you, Lord, for waking me up this morning. Forming positive turns around and goes, Steve's having a great day today. He's expecting some wonderful things to happen. And man, let's get it going. And they start manufacturing thoughts. You have got to change the way you think. It is the whole determining factor of where you go in life.
Where does self-confidence come from? And this is the best advice I can give you on that. Not neglecting, first of all, the small daily disciplines. Self-confidence really comes from feeling good about yourself. And one of the best ways to feel good about yourself is at the end of the day to know that you poured it on. You did your best. If you conducted a meeting, you did the best you could. If you made a phone call, it was the best phone call you could possibly make. If you wrote a letter, it wasn't a casual letter, it was your best letter. At the end of those kind of days, when you feel good about yourself, self-confidence starts to rise. You know that if you can have this kind of a good day, you can have another one the next day, and those days become the weeks become the months, and the month becomes a powerful year. Self-confidence comes from the lack of neglect. If you will not neglect to do the small daily disciplines, that's where self-confidence comes from. Part of good health is self-confidence. I know I'm going to be healthy. I take the Herbalife products. I eat the apple a day. I walk around the block. I do the jogging on the beach. At the end of the day, when you've really poured it on and you've done all the stuff, self-confidence grows. We all know what the enthusiasm is like when somebody lets us see their enthusiasm, which is like the 90% and only 10% of it is inside. But the enthusiasm that really affects people is not just being loud, but the enthusiasm that runs deep, the enthusiasm that comes from deep inside, created by self-confidence, created by purpose, created by genuine willingness to help other people. That kind of enthusiasm, knowing that you're going to get the job done, knowing you're going to affect people, knowing you're going to have testimonials flowing in from all kinds of directions. That kind of enthusiasm. A lot of it is quiet. A lot of it is unheard. And the 10% that's heard, it rings a bell. People call it genuine enthusiasm because they know that what you say in the outward display of your enthusiasm is only a small tip of the iceberg of the enthusiasm you feel inside that really motivates you to do the best job you can.
There's a Bible phrase that we could quote here that would be appropriate. It says, if you will be faithful over a few things, the small things, you will someday be ruler over many things and major things. That's it. That's the philosophy that counts. Surely life is reluctant to hand a fortune to someone who constantly messes up his paycheck. It's not the amount that counts. It's the plan and the faithful discipline of that plan that counts. The disciplines are those ingenious keys that unlock the door to the kind of person we really want to become. And becoming attracts all those treasures and values that most anyone would call the good life. Life in abundance, life in productivity, life in enterprise, life in influence, life in style.
Steve's a dear friend of mine, and when he was building the Win, I'll never forget, he was at my home in Sun Valley. I had just gotten to meet him. It was New Year's, and everybody else was standing watching the fireworks, and I was sitting at the table, and I was basically doing a brain melt, sucking out of his brain everything I possibly could. How do you think about this? What do you do? How do you market? And here's what I learned from Steve. People don't buy products. They buy feelings. People don't buy products. They buy states. People don't buy products. They buy identities. And he and I went back and forth for about 2.5 or 3 hours and became lifelong friends the last decade and a half. He came to this seminar, sat in the front row, And there's almost nothing that makes me uncomfortable, but I'm like, what am I going to teach him? But he sat in this event at lunch, took me to lunch, and he goes, this is the most valuable session I've been in the last 10 years. I know what I'm going to do. This is in 2008. He said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, when all my competitors are shrinking right now because they're trying to survive, I'm going to go build this giant beach club that goes right to Las Vegas Avenue. I'm going to build this new entrance. I'm going to up my services. He said, I'm going to do what you teach. What is the fundamental success to becoming wealthy? It's only one thing. If you want to be wealthy, you have to do more for your clients than who? Than anyone else. You have to add more what? That is the entire secret to wealth in business. If you want it in one sentence, it's simple. Do more for others than anyone else is doing. Add more value, and you will own them and you will own the marketplace. He goes, you know what I'm going to do, Tony? When everybody else is shrinking, I'm going to add more value. So all the high-end people are going to see I'm doing more, and they're going to come to me. And this down period is going to be the most important period of my entire career. Because when the economy comes back and those guys start giving services, I already own these people. They're not going to leave me. I'm their home. You got to ask yourself, what do I do to add more value? And many of you think adding more value means cutting your prices or doing something of that nature. Sometimes adding value is raising your price. It's crazy. Raising your price can increase your sales if it's the right piece. Now, if you raise your price and do more, no question that could be the right thing in some cases. Some of you, your market is the cheapest price. Maybe it's time to change that business model, because unless you're Walmart or Amazon or somebody that can do things at massive volume and lose money and sustain it, you might need a thing called a margin. If you're going to be successful in business, you want a high margin. High margins come from high human needs being met.
Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest athletes of our time, would show up on game day, and if he saw anybody else at the gym as early as him, even though he was always the first on the court, he would end up practicing longer than that person. And I had the honor of interviewing one of those people one time. And he said, I went up and asked Kobe, we have a game in an hour. Like, what are you doing out here practicing so long? And Kobe said, I needed you to know that I was willing to outwork you. And in that game, they ended up winning. And that lesson stuck with that guy forever. When you're willing to put in the work, when you're willing to take control of your environment and put yourself through the stressors required for adaptation, you literally can become anything. And my life is proof of that.
Every single day, give yourself a challenge of looking for good deeds, looking for goodness.
And try to go through your day without judging people. Judging people in a way where you're bringing them down, or judging people in a way where you're putting them up and putting yourself down.